Welcome to the Inspiring Father Podcast. I am your host, Tyler McAdams, and today I'm actually getting back into this. I take a little bit of a break on the podcast world, but I'm excited to kind of share a couple different things with everybody. I want to get back into this. We've been doing Instagram Lives a lot and doing long form Instagram Lives where I'm on for 30 to 45 minutes with a co-host. But today I really wanted to dive into this because we had discussed a great topic about emotional regulation and how your child's regulation is basically built on yours as a father, right? And why is that? How is that? Most parents, you're trying to manage their child's behavior when what they really need is to manage their own nervous system. We have to manage, we are the thermometer. We are the thermostat, I should say, not the thermometer. We're the thermostat for how they are going to be interacting and acting and going through different things, right? When we tell our kids to calm down, take a breath, control themselves, but no one ever taught us how to do that. We have to teach them how to actually do those items, and we have to be that role model. We have to do those tactics and those tools and use those tools to give them something they can use, because life is not easy. Life is going to hit them at hard sometimes. I've gone through it myself many times. Being a single father has taught me a lot of things to where I have to kind of relearn the different things and rework a lot of different things. And, it's not something that's easy to go through. Our kids have to realize that they're going to have obstacles in life. They're going to have different things that are going to create different emotions, and it's okay to let them out. We can't just sit there and tell them to hide their feelings. We can't hide our feelings, but we want to express them into a positive situation, right? We don't want to just sit there and just say, just let it roll off, let it go, and negate it, right? We don't want them to sit there and think it's not a big deal, because every emotion has a bigger impact on each individual person, especially our kids, right? Our kids, they don't know any better of how to let it out. When they're upset or when they're acting out, there's probably something wrong within, not only with them, they want your attention. Your kids want your attention. They want you to give them some love. They want to connect. Right? So when they're actually acting out, I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and he said that his daughter was having a lot of trouble, and he didn't understand why. And I said, look, to be honest with you, it's probably because she wants you. She wants you to connect with her. She wants you to set, I asked him, are you overwhelmed? Are you stressed? Are you, is there a lot of stuff going on? He's like, yeah. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I was like, well, there you go, man. She sees that. She feels that. She feels that energy from you, that you are overwhelmed, you're stressed. And I can relate to that myself. There's been times lately that I've been overwhelmed and stressed as a man and a father. And there's a lot of things I'm trying to manage at one time. And being obviously, a single father and trying to co-parent with what I have, it's not always easy. It's not always easy. So I'm having to manage my emotions in a way. And when I get like that, I've told my kids, look, I need 10 minutes. I need 10 minutes of my space right now. And yeah, I may have had it majority of the day when they're at school, if they're at school or whatever. But, sometimes there's situations that happen throughout the day that it doesn't matter the time. It's communication. You have to communicate to your kids. You have to be able to open with them and be transparent with them, and not just sit there and think, oh, well, they'll figure it out on their own. No, they need to understand what you're going through so they can have that comfort and safety within themselves, that they know that they're safe, and they feel that their father and their dad is going to get through that. Their parents are going to get through that. Don't yell at them. Don't create a harder environment for them to recover from, right? The more trauma we create in our kids after reaction, because we're not emotionally regulated, it just sets them up for a harder time in life as they get older, right? And take that from experience on my end. My stepfather, he was emotionally irregulated a lot. He scared me. he scared me as a father, right? At times, you know, but when he was good, he was fine to hang out with. But at the same time, like when I grew up in the household of my own personal level, like I saw a lot of things, and I've had to catch myself of repeating that action in my own household and the way I parent things, because it's not easy to, when you learn something growing up as a kid, it's kind of hard not to implement it. Sometimes you catch things. Kids are sponges. You catch different things. You end up feeling just kind of a sense of, I'm going to follow that. It's just what it was. It's how I grew up, so I'm going to use that in my own kid's life, right? So emotional regulation isn't about being calm all the time. It's about returning to calm faster. Okay, it's not about sitting there and saying, oh, everything's going to be freaking dandy and peaches and roses all the time. It's not going to happen. Stuff happens. Shit happens all the time. And unexpected shit happens. And we all can relate to that. If you can't relate to that, I mean, obviously, maybe life hasn't hit you the way it has hit others, but I've never heard anybody that's never had a problem go through and create different emotions within them. I mean, they were all human, right? So we all have our own baggage, our own issues, our own journeys that we've gone on, but we also have to understand that we are the temperature, we are the thermometer, the thermostat, my goodness, can't speak, the thermostat for our kids' emotions. If we're off, they're going to probably be off as well. If we're on and we feel happy and we're engaged and we're present, they're going to be happy, engaged, and present, and they're going to want to talk to us and open up to us more. And I've seen that firsthand from myself in my experience with my children. I'm not a perfect father. I'm trying my best to get better every day. I try to hold myself accountable every day. Try to learn from other fathers that are in this space every single day, because I think, everybody can learn something from everybody else, and everybody can get inspiration from somebody else. Somebody can get a motivation. Somebody can hold somebody else accountable with simple actions, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do today with everybody, is that, we have to create our own accountability within this, and holding ourselves accountable to be regulated emotionally, and not just sit there and think it's going to help out and think it's going to work out. If you react and yell and you scream and you get frustrated, always repair, okay? Always repair. And I talked about this on the Instagram Live, on my Instagram Live yesterday. You can check it out on my page, Inspiring Father. But you always have to repair, the outbreak that you may have against them, or the things you may have said that may not been the right thing you wanted to say, right? So you have to sit there and realize that, you gotta teach your kids that we make mistakes. We're not perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. People are going to say things that they don't necessarily, maybe not meant to say, or how they wanted to say it. But if you have the upfront and accountability and honesty to share that, hey, I was not in the right frame of mind. I apologize. I want to work on this with you and realize that I made a mistake of what I said or what I did, because anger is not acceptable. Anger is not a good emotion to share, and not repair it. It's going to happen. We all get angry. We all get frustrated. We all get mad, right? There's stress from work. There's financial responsibilities that we have, the pressure. Life has so many things that we have to overcome as fathers, as parents. We weren't always taught the right emotional skills that is needed to battle life. They don't teach that stuff in school. They just expect you to kind of let it be, sometimes. And obviously with this next generation upcoming and my kids and all that, I want them to stay strong emotionally, because there's a lot of stuff with technology that is coming out that creates a imbalance of basically comparison, right? We are always going to be comparing now. It's all over the internet, all over the social media, that we are comparing ourselves to other people's lives more so than ever before. And I know a lot of people have talked about that, but it's so hard to keep your emotions straight about what you want, and they keep the stress level of what you want, when you're trying to compare yourself, oh man, why does he have that? How do I get that? Or I want to get that. I want to get that. I want to attach myself to that. And then you get that shiny object syndrome, and this is how you follow the leader of that, right? But we all have our own challenges emotionally. We all have our own struggles, but we could always work on being more positive, living in gratitude, writing down our wins every day, creating a life that sits with our kids and shows our kids that, hey, life's not going to be easy, but we can overcome anything we put our mind to, right? We put our mind to it, we can overcome it. Don't let them shut down. You don't shut down yourself. The more you shut down, and it's going to teach avoidance. When you're yelling, it teaches yelling. When you're exploding, it teaches fear. When you're emotional unpredictability, it creates anxiety. When you're emotionally unpredictable, it's creating a big time anxiety in your kids. And I've had that. I can reflect about that because, I've gone through quite a few things the past 5 years myself. Getting divorced, that was emotionally unpredictable. I didn't know where my emotions were going to go. Separating from my second recent relationship, and I have a child with her. That created a divide to where I didn't know where my emotions were all over the board. I didn't know what to do. I have a young child, and I'm like, I want to be in her life, right? And I want to stay in her life. And it's like, oh my gosh, but the relationship wasn't working. So, at the same time, you just have to, and I know it created an anxiety in my kids. They saw my emotions. They saw the anxiousness. They were anxious. They didn't know what to do. I saw that. I can see it in their faces. I could feel it in their voices. I could see it. I just knew it. So it was creating an imbalance, and it was creating them to act out in certain ways, right? So they didn't know how to regulate themselves. And at that time, I wasn't regulated myself, so I couldn't really help them emotionally as strong as I wanted to. I tried. I definitely put effort into it. But, overall, we have to kind of learn from our experiences, learn and grow. We're going to have bumps in the road that create that. But if we're not teaching them, and I've had my hiccups since, I'm not perfect. I've had my hiccups since where I've caught myself raising my voice at times, and catching myself, hey, but I've always repaired. I've always said, look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do, overcome. I always try to repair it. I try to repair everything. I try to make it count, make it worth it. I try to spend more quality time with them to make it up for it. Or, sometimes it's just sitting back and just, you just have to own it. Own your fucking mistakes. Own your mistakes, guys. It's not hard. We all make mistakes in life. Own your fucking mistakes. Because if you don't own them, your life is going to be shit. All right? And I know I'm cursing a lot and I don't like to curse, but you're going to sit there and you're going to just, nobody's going to trust you. Nobody's going to feel your trust. Nobody's going to actually believe what you say, because you're not owning what you did, or what you are, or what you're saying, or how you're doing things, or your actions. I live by this motto: actions speak louder than words. My mom, I'm going to give that to her. She's the one that's always said that to me: actions speak louder than words. It's 100% right. When your actions are showing that your kids, or you can't be emotionally stable for your kids, that's what's going to show up in them, in their own lives, in their own personal relationships that they're having with their friends at school, that they're having as an adult, that they're going to have to overcome that trauma as an adult themselves. And you don't want that. You don't want that. I've had to overcome things as a kid myself. So put yourself in your own shoes of what you had to overcome as your own inner child, right? You don't want to project that onto your kids. That should be the motto that you live by too, is you don't want to project what you had to go through as a father, as a boy, as a man, and have that be your statement as a man, right? You want to grow. You should be willing to and wanting to learn and grow. If you're stuck in the past, get out. There's somebody to help you. I'm here to help you. There's somebody out there that wants to help you get out of this situation, but you have to really want it inside. You have to find it inside yourself. Don't expect it to just pop up out of nowhere, So here's some practical tools for you guys to use. Pausing, okay? When you take a deep breath, pause for 3 to 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it takes to get you to regulate your emotion, right? Don't just react. Don't just sit there and react and feel this is going to just be enough. Slow your breathing. When you're breathing slower, your clarity comes in. You become more clear in your mind. When you're burst up with energy and emotion and frustration, stuff comes out that you don't even know what you're saying. Okay? Stuff comes out that you don't even know what you're saying. You just created and then it's a backlash. It's a consequence for yourself, because then you're enabling just so many different bad things that you can say, and then it's a snowball effect, right? You're just creating that. Lower your voice intentionally. Do that. Lower your voice intentionally. If here's a phrase: I'm feeling activated, I'm going to slow down. Okay. Here's the tool number 2. Name the emotions out loud. Emotional literacy builds emotional safety. Okay. Name your emotion and name theirs. So, for example, I'm frustrated right now, but look, I'm still here. Okay. You're overwhelmed. I can see that. You can see. Name it out loud. Name the emotion out loud and just share it like that. That's something that can help recognize it in your brain that you're frustrated, that you're emotionally frustrated, and you are trying to overcome that emotion right then and there. Point it out. Make it just like anything else in life. You want to make it to where you're sitting there and pointing everything out. You want to, if you're aware of it, you're going to be able to fix it, right? If you're aware of your emotion, you're going to be able to fix it. Okay. Tool number 3, lower the volume, not the boundary, right? Calm doesn't mean permissive. Okay. Calm doesn't mean permissive. It means that you're able to build trust. A calm authority is building the trust. And the meaning of that is, and when you're calm, when you feel a sense of calmness inside of you, that you're going to be able to say the right things. You're going to be able to do the right actions, and you're going to have that trust built inside the other person, right? And so you have to create that boundary. You have to lower the volume inside of yourself and realize, I'm going to be okay. Take a walk, take a breath, whatever it takes. Do jumping jacks. There's things that I've done. Do push-ups. Sometimes I'll do push-ups. If I'm overwhelmed inside my head, I'll do push-ups, because that helps me reframe my mind, right? It helps me kind of reset for a second, so that's 3 tools. The 4th tool is repair. It's I've been talking about it. It's non-negotiable. You cannot have an emotional outbreak, or if there's an issue where you are emotional, it's going to happen. You're going to mess up. Okay? But you have to be able to repair it. You have to teach resilience and accountability to your kids. They have to know that things are going to be okay. Things are going to be okay. You made a mistake, own it. Own your mistake, okay? I didn't handle it. You just tell them, look, I didn't handle it very well earlier. I apologize. I'm trying to learn myself how to manage my emotions even more. You got to figure out how to give them a little bit of understanding and realize that they are going to have challenges and have to overcome their own emotions sometimes too. And then when they have outbreaks themselves, they can be like, hey, you know what, Dad, I'm sorry. Or I didn't mean to say that, or I didn't want to say that. I've had my kids say that to me sometimes too. They've apologized to me for saying something, or they did something they didn't mean to. My 11-year-old, I've heard her repeatedly, I didn't mean to say that, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. It's just I've seen these reactions where they recognize it. And that's the beautiful thing. When you recognize it, you can repair it, you could fix it. Just like a car, right? When you have an issue with a car, a blown tire, well, you see it, it's right there. You can fix it. You know the issue. Where's the screw? Where's the hole? What is it? Okay. Whatever it is, if there's an issue and you know the problem, you can fix that problem, right? So you always have to try to repair it. And we're always in a constant state of trying to repair things every single day, because these negative emotions, these challenging emotions are going to hit us. They're going to hit us, okay? So, you have to have that emotional intelligence. You got to have your kids, you want them to learn the emotional intelligence. You want them to learn self-soothing skills. It's okay to have those outbreaks and emotions and cry and be open about it. Don't suppress it. Don't sit there in your own thoughts, because all that's doing is creating a massive amount of stress inside of you. And then that affects your health overall, right? That affects their health. Make sure they have a secure attachment to you. Make sure they feel safe around you as a father. Make sure they feel that they believe that you are a safety net for them to go to at all times. And that's going by telling them how much you love them every day, no matter what they say to you, no matter if they say, I don't like you right now. I hate you, or whatever they say. I dislike you right now, or they act out or say something that they don't mean. Always tell them you love them. Always make sure they know that you're there. Be present, show up. Doesn't matter. Their emotions should not affect the way you love your children. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, you should always love your children. Okay? That is something that needs to happen. Breed the confidence that you want to give them confidence. And that shows by modeling. If you're confident within yourself, you're doing the morning routines, you're doing the routines, and you're showing confidence within yourself, then that's going to persist on giving them confidence, right? That's going to permeate down to them. That's going to give them something that, hey, my father is a confident man. I can be confident. I can do this too. If he can do it, I can do it too. They're going to follow your lead. Kids follow our lead. They don't just sit there and expect life. They want, actually, I take this back. Make them follow your lead, not somebody else's lead, okay? Make them follow your lead, not somebody else's. If they follow your lead in a positive way, and you're leading with positivity and doing things in an impactful way, then that's what's going to translate to the next level of their maturation and growth and adulthood and all that stuff. If you're doing that, they're going to do the same. I've always said this. A father is the most important relationship in a child's life, girl or boy. I firmly believe that. And that's not a knock on mothers, okay? Because I believe mothers have a very specific skill and purpose, and they're amazing as well. I have no knock on the mothers of my children, no knock at all on them, as how they are as mothers, okay? They have a nurturing way, but us as fathers, we set the example, we set the bar for our kids and their confidence and their security and their patience, right? We have that energy to them. We provide that to them. And if we're confident and we provide the right tone, the right thermostat temperature, then we're going to be able to give them that for their lives. Okay? You have to have you want them to build the trust in you, and they need to know that they can trust you with anything, whether it's throwing them up in the air, playing with them, taking them to school, taking them on whatever it is, a simple trust, different activities that different tasks that they can trust you with, emotional trust, that they can tell you anything without feeling like they're going to get in trouble, right? I've always told my kids, like, hey, sometimes you're going to have a consequence for your action, what you say or what you do, right? You're going to have consequence no matter what. Whether it's positive or negative, you're going to have consequence. But don't keep it in from me. You always tell me, I'm here to listen. I'm here to help you overcome whatever situation you're in. And I'm not going to be, and maybe I say the wrong things sometimes or make it sound like, oh, I don't validate their feelings all the time the best way I should. I'm still learning myself, but you want to make sure that they have that confidence with themselves that they can come to you and trust you with anything. And it's not as their kids, because some kids are going to have mistrust in their parents because they're figuring it out themselves, right? Who's actually can I trust? But if you it's really the trust that you want them to trust you when they're older. The relationship starts when they're adults. That's when you're building the foundation when they're younger. Now when they're older, that's when it proves that if you're a good parent or not. Because that's going to say, hey, I want to hang out with my dad. My goal is to take my kids and be a grandfather and to take my kids to do things with my kids, go on trips, do things like that. That's my goal for my vision for my future as an older adult, as my kids become adults, because I think it's so important for them. That's the foundation I'm trying to build, is because I want them to be wanting to hang out with me, or me allowed to, see them more and more as often as I can, because it's going to be hard. You build a life with them for 18 years, right? Or 19, however long it is. Obviously kids are staying longer in in parents' houses nowadays, but you build a life with them and you have a constant routine with them, and then it changes, right? That's a challenge. And then you get lost a little bit, right? So you want to be able to see them more often. So look, to close this out, and this is something I'm going to, I am excited to kind of get this back and going on the podcast. I'm going to start getting guests involved and lined up. I'm going to start getting more podcasts this coming year. I really want to build this platform a little bit more, because I have a lot to share, a lot of experience in fatherhood and a lot of different things that I go through on a daily basis that, I hope my story can help somebody out there. That's my goal. Is I've always wanted to impact one person a day, so, look, your child doesn't need a perfect parent. They just need a regulated one. They need somebody that's emotionally regulated, strong, courageous, brave, and is just transparent and just freaking open with their own emotions at times. Obviously, your kids don't need to know every single detail, okay? That's not what I'm trying to say. But just give them a little bit of understanding of, like, it's okay to share them. Pause before you react. Breathe instead of exploding. Repair instead of retreating and go and hide and say nothing. Don't hide and say nothing to them, because that creates a bigger divide between you both, okay? You have to repair the outburst that you may have had, the mistake that you may have made. You have to repair it. I cannot stress that enough, because you're teaching them a skill that they can use the rest of their life when you are implementing these tools and these tactics and these habits for them, right? Your regulation becomes their regulation. And look, that's not pressure, that's power, okay? So look, for all my listeners here, I would love to provide some other tools for you guys. I have some free fatherhood scripts that I've been sending out to new followers of mine on Instagram. I'd love to provide those. I can provide those down here in the show notes. I'd love to have a 15-minute clarity call of anybody that might be struggling as well, and want to get help as a father and learn some different tools and go deep into maybe their situation and get some clarity. And look, I'm working on also putting our mastermind together here in the next couple months here to kind of help other fathers as well. So I'm here for you guys. I appreciate everybody that follows me, supports me. I love everybody. Truly, wholeheartedly, I'm grateful for everything that you guys share. You share my content, and if anybody that can benefit from this episode, please share it. Like it. Spread the word, because I think we all need those encouraging words. We need those inspirational reminders. We need these powerful words to, because words really matter, right? Words are powerful. And when you listen to them and maybe you can reflect, and hopefully you can relate to some of the things I've said, maybe things that you can kind of gain from this and learn from this and take it to another level that I don't have. Please share, comment, whatever it is, I'd love you to like it, subscribe to my channel here. I'm building my YouTube channel as well, so subscribe to it, and I'd love to continue building and impacting more and more fathers and more men, more parents in general, but specifically fathers and men that may be struggling, may not know where to go, may feel lost. Single fatherhood is not easy. I'm a single father. I know it's challenging. It gets to be tough at times, but I'm here for you. And until next time, guys, I appreciate it. I love you guys, and be that hero to your children's stories. Have a great day, guys.